Greetings and salutations, viewers. We're the Land Stars. Beware the spooky, scary snakes on this episode of Gabriel Night.
Spooky.
Scary.
I actually had a pet snake in my teen years.
Cool.
Yep, albino corn snake.
Aw.
Yep,
Whoa,
Pink
whoa.
Floyd. He was a little bastard.
Ah, okay. I was like, did you name him Corn Dog?
He was pink colored, so he was Pink Floyd.
That works. It's better of a name than I used for my bunny.
Your bunny was Little Bunny Boy, right?
Yes, but he had other nicknames my dad wanted to call him. Most of which I cannot repeat on in this recording.
Welp.
Yep. So, now that we got the sketch and cover the crime scene with a fine-tooth comb,
We're better at this than the police.
we're better than Mark Hamill.
We're better than... I can't say that... Mark Hamill seems to be like a great human being, but let's go back to the bookstore.
Oh, okay. Also, is there a reason why St. George has a scythe?
Lucy, home.
Don't do that
The excitement
again.
of seeing you is killing me.
Wow, I think my brain is bleeding.
Yeah. So we got
Wait.
Tim Curry trying to do a Creole accent, trying to do a Cuban accent.
Ow.
Yeah.
Ow. There are things mankind was not meant to know. I think we summoned an old one in my skull.
So I assume we
Um,
talked to Grace?
We talked to Grace.
Grace, we got some more stuff to tell you!
Got a minute, Grace?
What's up?
We're gonna need you to do some research.
Yep.
Could you do some research for me?
Sure, what?
Could you see what you can find out about a woman named Malia Getty?
The name Getty sounds familiar. What's your interest in her?
He wants to
just,
show her
you know,
his snake.
Stuff about the voodoo murders. If you could get an address...
Absolutely
Mhm.
nothing involving
They're
snakes
murders.
will happen with
Right.
this woman.
I'll see
Clearly.
what I can
Yep.
find out.
She's
Anything
clearly a
else?
fan of Pink Floyd.
Mm-hmm.
I can't
Pink
think of
Floyd
anything.
is awesome.
Okay.
And then let's see what you
Do
say
you
with
know
snakes.
anything about snakes?
Doing a family tree, Gabriel?
Very funny. I mean real snakes. You know, scaly, cold-blooded. I would have thought you'd find them empathetic.
I know very little about reptiles of any kind and prefer to keep it that way.
The snakes are
I
cool.
think there's a book on snakes
Yep.
around here somewhere, though.
Okay, thanks.
Every time I ever went to a zoo and there was a guy walking around being like, pet the snake, I was always the only one in my family who went, yes, please!
They're noodles.
They're awesome.
What does she know about the shittin' Joker?
Have you ever heard of a Schottenjäger?
No. Is that a voodoo word?
It's a
I
German
think
word.
So. It's German.
Grace, did you just roll a
No,
1
that
on
has a nice ring,
languages?
doesn't Schottenjäger.
I think it's a word.
Schottenjäger, is that a voodoo word? Does it sound friggin' French to you, lady?
I don't speak French.
Omelette du fromage.
Did someone throw a book at you?
For those of you wondering, please go watch the Bastard Small sessions over on Yorkshire Ravens channel.
Yes.
But yes.
Assuming nothing else to add, maybe check messages again?
Let's check
Do you
messages.
have messages for me?
Nope. None right now.
Well, darn. Okay.
Well, it's about closing time.
So
Last
it is.
title for
Good night,
alcohol.
Gracie.
Drink up your whiskey and beer.
Good night, Gabriel. And try not to dream, okay?
I promise nothing. Maybe frogs will show up in there.
The hell is her dress made out of?
It looks like it's made out of bark, to be honest.
Yeah, like what the... Seriously, the hell is that?
I mean, you said earlier she was a hippie, so maybe she actually does have a skirt made out of bark. She's a literal tree hugger. Because it hugs her thighs just right.
Oh my.
Oh, this thing again.
So we get the Mode 7 thing,
We get the strawberry
Oh.
jam,
the strawberry jam, the bookshop,
and we're about to probably see another guy hanging, which I think was actually Gabriel.
snake.
Are we gonna see that every day?
Well, as we go, more details are revealed.
Oh.
A mask I wore as I approached, I was what I am not. And though the pattern wasn't clear, its meaning could be bought.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. We're here back again. His truth is marching on.
Good morning. Don't you look swell today? Actually, swollen.
Oh.
I ate some bees.
So have some. There's a fresh pot on the table.
Perhaps it's a potluck.
Just like my brother's wedding.
But were there cupcakes?
Seriously, you look like
Yes.
your hair is sticking straight up like a...
That was what
Oh.
the wedding cake
I don't
was,
know.
actually.
It's convenient.
Did you dream about the fire and the hang guy and that lion thing last night?
It was a jaguar.
Leopard,
A
not
leopard.
lion. Did you get anything on Malia Getty?
Well, I did get her address, but you're a little out of your league here, big fella. The Gettys own 3 local hospitals, just to name a few of their assets. They run in very high circles.
Did you get an address?
I got the address. I suppose this has nothing to do with the fact that Malia Getty is incredibly gorgeous. I should have known you wouldn't go for a rich, ugly socialite.
And that address is...
Hey! Far be it from me to postpone your total humiliation. It's 557 West Ingram. That's a garden district, a state city.
That's all I wanted to know. And yes, my dear, Malia Getty is the most dangerous-looking diversion I've
God,
ever seen.
Gabriel, you're such a sleazebag.
Go to
men.
horny jail. Ah, oh my king, he's got a freaking, like, room there. Oh, so let's
Yep.
actually save. We have not actually saved once yet.
Yep.
Oh, there is an autosave, though, so that's a plus. Okay, let's put this... There. Now our name is immortalized in this forever.
There are actually places where you can screw yourself over if you save at the wrong time.
Aha.
There aren't many of them. In terms of Sierra games, this one doesn't have a lot of deaths. The places where they do show up tend to be clumped together.
Okay. So
But,
soon we gotta talk more with Grace.
Got a minute?
Let's see, any
Do
messages?
you have messages for me?
Nope. None right now.
Well, shoot. Okay. And she already gave us the research stuff, right?
Could you just...
Sure.
Yep.
Yep.
I can't...
Okay.
So, you stay here and, just chill.
Let's check out the newspaper.
Oh, right. That's a thing.
Times Peter Hughes, dated June 19, 1900 to 93. A front-page article describes the most recent of the voodoo murders. Gabriel scans it but learns not anew.
You think he actually hears the narrator?
Absolutely.
It's like that one Will Ferrell movie.
Oh boy.
Really enough to him. Elsewhere, there's an article about the history of Jackson Square, called La Plaza d'Armas. Under French rule, it was used for executions, firing squads, hanging, even impalement and breaking on the wheel. Yikes.
And now hosts
Of course,
weddings and bar
these
mitzvahs.
days, it's mostly a hangout for tourists, street musicians, and local artists. Gabriel
Just like the
also
gallows
scans
tree in
Aquarius
colonial
horoscope
Williamsburg.
for the day. Chances of a dark star rising on this day. Do not trust your instincts.
I feel a dark star rising, all right.
Don't do that again. The only one who can make that sexy is Lantern.
Ooh, werewolves of London.
See? Hot.
Hey! If I was better at the piano, I would do a full cover of that song.
Ooh. You can always do Ode to Joy.
Alrighty, let's blow this popsicle stand.
See you later.
Why did they say that? Do people regularly just take popsicles and light them up via explosions?
You mean you don't?
No, I tend to like to eat them. If I ever get them, I haven't had them since I was a kid.
Reminds me, we need to get rid of those freezy pops in the freezer at work that... Anyway, so, what we need to do is,
Like, part of me wants
We
to say
did-
go to the Voodoo Museum.
I don't think we need to go there yet.
Okay. Do we
Well,
go-
actually, I think we can.
Okay.
Let's check it out.
Vroom vroom.
Welcome, my friend.
Hey, it's Worf.
Hello.
I am the proprietor, Dr. John. If you have any questions, I will be happy to assist.
Great. My name is Knight, and I'll probably take you up on that.
I can't believe we're in a Star Trek.
Woo! I do love me some Lieutenant Commander Worf.
Yep. The Klingons are cool.
The Klingons are awesome.
Could I ask you some questions?
That is why I am here.
And you want to ask him, like, everything multiple times.
Okay. Do you know anything about prune juice?
A warrior's drink!
Historical voodoo? Or the voodoo currently practiced in the city?
Yes.
What can you tell me about voodoo?
Historical voodoo?
Okay.
Tell me about historical voodoo.
Very well. I will start at the beginning, Mr. Knight, and will go on from there at your prompting.
Sounds good.
As you may know, voodoo is a grassroots religion formed by the mixing together of many different African tribal religions and Anglo religions, such as Catholicism or Protestantism. In other words, it is a religion born of the African slave trade. But African slaves were imported not only by the United States, but also into the West Indies, where the French and Spanish ran plantation islands. Prior to 1803, the New Orleans area was owned by France. The French Creole in those days owned many African slaves. But the Creole did not permit their slaves to gather, giving no chance for voodoo to breed here natively. The Creole also knew enough about the corrupted pagan practices of the West Indies slaves to ban the importing of slaves from that region.
This was a different recording session.
I was gonna say, the quality jumped really high there.
Let's keep asking him about historical voodoo.
So, how did voodoo come to New Orleans?
After the Louisiana Purchase, American legislators relaxed regulations.
I'm having flashbacks
Slaves
to
were
that
permitted to
one
gather.
scene in
The Americans also removed the ban on West
Sam and
Indian
Max
slaves.
about John
Around the
Muir,
same
where
time,
education
slave
pops
revolt
up.
occurred in Santo
Yep.
Domingo, what is now Haiti.
Wait, so
Between
John
the
Muir was
lifting
real?
of the ban and the Haitian
Oh yeah,
revolt,
John Muir is
West
absolutely
Indian
real.
slaves
But
began
who's John
pouring
Muir?
into New Orleans. Some of them were free people of color, freed or escaped slaves. Some came with their white owners who were fleeing from the revolt.
What happened when the West Indies slaves got here?
They brought voodoo with them. The native slaves were more than enthusiastic about embracing it. It gave them power, Mr. Knight, if only in the form of a communal.
Did I mention that
Among
Jane
the
Jensen
first
liked doing her
leading persons were the
research?
Bayou Saint John.
I mean,
and
that's
the
good she
shore
did her
of Lake
research,
Pontchartrain.
because you were getting a bit of
The
an
early
education
voodoos
in
were
this here
heavy
point click
snake
game.
worshippers, worshipping the one they called the Great Zombie.
Tell me more about historical voodoo.
By 1817, the voodoo activities were beginning to cause fear among the white slave owners. An ordinance was passed to forbid slave gatherings except
Also,
in
just sounds
designated
way
public
more epic
areas
as Worf is
at
describing it.
designated times.
Yep.
The time was Sunday afternoons and the place, Congo Square. The slaves and free people of color gathered to dance simulations of their voodoo dances right in sight of Creole society. Of course, they also continued to meet in private for the real thing.
The real thing.
Tell me more about...
There were a variety of kings and queens at first, voodoo priests and priestesses.
This game
But
loves
from
its
about
dialogue.
1830, a
Yes.
single power
I will say
emerged.
though, I do like the
This
interface
was a
for
voodoo
actually
queen named
pressing the
Marie
dialogue as
Laveau.
opposed to just keep clicking
Marie
until
Laveau
something
ruled
happens.
Voodoo in New Orleans for many
It's definitely a
years.
lot cleaner, and you actually know what you're talking about. Okay, I heard the dingling, so I'm assuming that means we got all we needed from there.
Mary Laveau is a new thing we can ask about.
Oh yes.
Tell me more about Marie Laveau.
There were actually two Marie Laveaus, mother and daughter. Most people thought they were the same woman. Her continued youth added to the mystique.
Ooh.
The original, the mother, was also known as Widow Paris. It was she that began the empire.
The
When
Klingon
the
Empire?
Widow Paris began to rise, there were many
Honor on
voodoo
you
priestesses.
and your house.
By 1830, she was voodoo queen of all New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me more.
The Widow Paris was a hairdresser for rich Creole ladies. She also paid household servants to spy for her. Between the two, she knew everything about everyone who mattered in New Orleans. She was not above using her information to appear psychic, to intimidate, or even to blackmail.
Which is
Sounds
really
as though you
cool.
admire her.
For a black woman in the mid-1800s to gain power is an incredible thing, Mr. Knight. However, she achieved it.
That is fair.
Tell me more.
She kept a pet snake, danced with it too. She held traditional voodoo ceremonies out by the lake. She took herself seriously, very seriously. But she was not above selling tickets for her events to curiosity seekers. She was not above using voodoo any way she could to make money. That is for certain. But if she had been in another line of work, in another age, that would have been interpreted as entrepreneurial genius rather than a sign of fraudulence.
Hey, you don't need to convince me. I admire anyone that can actually make a living.
Because I sure as hell can't.
Tell me more.
It was Marie Laveau who defined the voodoo that is truly and uniquely the voodoo of New Orleans. She invented hundreds, if not thousands of spells, potions, charms, and incantations. These form the basis of the modern practice, not to mention the folk tradition of hoodoo.
Hoodoo?
You do.
Do what?
Remind me of the babe.
What, babe?
Tell me more about
Babe with the
Marie
power.
Her
What power?
daughter, Marie Glapion,
Power of
took
voodoo.
over
Hoodoo?
when the widow Paris
You do.
got
Do
old.
what?
Remind me of the babe.
What
was
babe?
The same. Both Maries encouraged that point of view. The widow Paris died in 1881. Marie Glapion had been reigning a long time by then. After the death of the widow Paris, other voodoo queens surfaced, and by 1890, the cult was fragmented again. Marie
So the
Glapion
Voodoo Museum is
sort of
absolutely a real
faded away.
thing in New Orleans. I don't know if it looks like this.
Hmm. So you're
It
saying,
definitely doesn't have...
So you're saying
Tell
we
me
need to
more
visit
about
whenever we can
Marie
visit New
Laveau.
Orleans.
The
Absolutely.
Laveau tomb,
Hell
where
yeah.
one or both of the Maries are believed to be buried, is in St. Louis Cemetery number 1.
Oh, so like where
It is
Grandma
a
told us to
popular
go.
shrine for
Yep.
practitioners and
Yeah, if you
tourists.
haven't gotten the info from Grandma
I
about
myself
the
take tours
graveyard,
through the
you can get it from
cemetery on
him.
a regular
Uh-huh.
basis.
Really? Do you have any running this week?
No, but the cemetery is open to the general public as well.
Good to know. Good to know. Okay, I
Let's
guess
ask him,
Current voodoo?
and himself as well,
Tell
why
me
start
not?
with him.
yourself.
Me?
Yes, if you don't mind.
What is it you wish to learn?
Why did you open a voodoo museum?
The subject has fascinated me all my life, and I wanted to help preserve the cultural heritage it represents.
Uh-huh.
What kind of background in voodoo do you have?
Let us say that I cut my teeth on it, Mr. Knight. It is in my blood.
Ooh.
Do you do anything besides run the museum?
No. The museum does not make me a rich man, but my material needs are simple. I prefer to focus on my one true interest in life.
Interpretive dance?
What are your own religious beliefs?
My beliefs are too personal and too complex to discuss with a layman, Mr. Knight.
That is fair.
Just
He's-
tell me anything.
He's being very vague
I
about
am
himself.
originally from the West Indies myself, you know.
Oh,
Really? What brought you to New Orleans?
I was drawn here for personal reasons.
Mm-hmm.
tell me anything.
Just tell me anything.
I am a vegetarian.
Really?
Oh.
I can't imagine living without meat.
That must be the hunter in you, Mr. Knight.
Worf being a vegetarian, that feels wrong.
Yeah.
Just tell me anything.
I do not care for small talk, Mr. Knight.
I get that.
Okay.
Actually, I can.
Then,
Alright, so current voodoo then.
Tell me
Yep.
about current voodoo.
many people think of voodoo in terms of magic spells or gree-gree. That kind of practice is actually called hoodoo.
You
and
do?
is only a part of true
Do what?
voodoo.
Remind me of the babe?
Voodoo, the religion, has a strong following in New Orleans. In fact, it is growing quite rapidly. There are several voodoo churches or temples in the city, and others all across the United States. African Americans see it as a tradition all their own. Whites, and there are many in their religion, are attracted to it because they think it is exotic. I, personally, am more interested in the history of voodoo. Some of the new movements are copying Haitian or even African voodoo. But it is the voodoo of New Orleans that I find so intriguing.
Oh, and we got hoodoo.
Is there anything else I should know about voodoo?
Not if your interest is primarily in voodoo. Hoodoo is of interest to those who study rural folk traditions, but it will not aid you in understanding true voodoo.
Uh-huh.
Let's ask him about the voodoo murder. Well, we can also continue to ask him about current voodoo and hoodoo.
Tell me more about current voodoo.
There are many voodooians in New Orleans. They often do business selling gree-gree, telling fortunes, providing luck, and occasionally misfortune. Perhaps you would like to meet a voodooian. We refer those who seek a deeper experience with voodoo to a local practitioner, Magentia Moonbeam.
That's quite a name.
Sure, I'd love to meet her.
She lives on the corner of Orleans and Dauphine. I will call her and tell her you might stop by.
Great. Thanks.
Oh, that's convenient.
Is there anything else?
Not if your interest is primarily in voodoo. Hoodoo is
Okay.
of interest to those
Okay.
who
Well, let's
live
ask him about the voodoo murders, because
What do you
he,
know
he
about the
knows.
voodoo murders?
the killings in the newspaper. I know that they have nothing to do with true voodoo in New Orleans.
Uh-huh.
Let's boop him about that again.
What makes you think the voodoo murders aren't being done by local practitioners?
Voodoo is a popular boogeyman, Mr. Knight, especially in New Orleans. Anyone can pretend to use it, just as anyone can pretend to be a black belt in karate, and for the same reason, to intimidate. I know voodoo in this city, Mr. Knight, and believe me, it is not about killing. Even the police have stated that the killings have nothing to do with local voodoo.
Uh-huh.
So he says that they're not voodoo related because the police say they are.
Makes sense. So essentially it sounds like he's saying if it was real voodoo, we wouldn't even know about it.
Well, didn't the
So
police
you
say
don't
that they
know?
had an expert
I neither
tell them
know
it's not
nor care to know, Mr. Knight. So far,
Not,
it
um,
has not
voodoo because... I'm sure it's not important.
Yeah. Anything else we need to poke him about?
We can talk to him about snakes.
Do you know anything about snakes?
Ah, you have perhaps noticed the museum's snake, Mr. Knight. They are beautiful creatures, do you not agree? And the tourists seem to associate them with voodoo.
Mm-hmm.
Is the snake yours? Do you use it in your practice of voodoo?
I admire the spirit of this snake, Mr. Knight, but snakes like the museums can be quite dangerous to handle.
You didn't really answer my question.
I think I did, Mr. Knight.
In other words, shove off.
Yep. Alrighty.
I'd really like...
There is really
Okay, nothing else to add there?
Nothing really.
Okay.
But he does have a snake tank in here somewhere, and there's a light switch in here that we can poke, actually.
I see the switch right there, I think.
Gabriel cannot see.
Oh, I have to use it.
There is nothing to.
Nope, okay.
We have to use one of the different, yeah,
Why move
like,
Oh, it's
I think the
probably...
gear.
Okay,
Too many,
We gotta Metal Gear it.
too many
What is this?
damn specifics.
turn that thing off.
Sorry.
We have air conditioning.
Yeah, I see.
So when you flip that switch, his snake starts freaking out.
Uh-huh.
That's weird. I'm sure that'll never come up.
Nah.
But yeah, I think that's about all we can do in here for now.
Okay. In that
That
case...
doesn't seem.
where's
That
the
is-
door?
The doorway is already open.
I go to parties sometimes until
Goodbye, Dr.
4.
Goodbye, Mr. Knight.
Farewell, Worf. And we will...
Dr. John's actually the name of a musician.
That's a sexy name, then. But alright, with that, we shall continue our investigations in the next episode. But until then, see you later.
Boo.